Okay, when Basi Legani Tafshir Chav Dalet, I say, okay, we're going to start at the beginning of Hegel. We learned a little 5 or 6 lines. Okay, so it's explaining that Va'ata is not only the creation of the highest of the world, it's actually the creation from the highest level to the lowest level. Karnei Ra'imim is the level of the Keren of Keser, and Kinim is a Gematria 120, which is 120 Tzirufim of Elokim, which is complete concealment. So basically, Elokus gives sustenance from the highest levels to the lowest levels. Okay, these lines we'll learn quick. There's some shach of Elokus that comes all the way down, is even something lower than Klipa. What is lower than Klipa itself? One who transgresses the will of Hashem, what we learned before, is even worse than the Klipa that was created as Klipa. So it's doing its mission. If I go up to the heaven, there you are. If I make my resting place down there, you're there. What is the inyan of Sha'el? Gehenim is a punishment and a cleansing for the people that sinned. And that's what it says, that even the lowest of lowest klipa, meaning people that sinned, and they get punished for that, shegam sham yashna erin tzof. The inyan is, kvim shevayad mo'en tzor b'shar tzitzis. He says over there, mashakos emasik shemayim shamato. Vatzir shalinaka shneim yachad, that Elokus is in the highest levels in the heaven and in the lowest levels together, meaning Shem Shemasik Shemayim Shamat, just like if I go up to the heaven, you are there, you mamish, the way you are in the heaven, exactly the same way you are in the earth. Meaning the same revelation, not revelation, but the same level of Elokus, which is all the way up there, is all the way down there. Kfi shemevai baruch shezel umezah solikim Hashem made kedusha opposite klipa opposite kedusha. Lochen shem shetachlis ho'ila de kedusha. Just like in the ultimate level of kedusha, which is kain yira'im and beruchnias. There's inyan of side of zaken l'maylik. Yesterday we were discussing about hair, right? Hair basically is klipa, except the hair of the beard is ultimate kedusha. Kamesha Kotza, like it says va'atik kaimen. Yosef is sitting like the garments of white, kedelechi, like white snow. The sardesh and the hair of his head, kamanok, is like white wool, which is the inyan of talis v'chutiat tzitzis. Shazem made al gedol ili ha'er shelamayla, which is ultimate, or up there, shemitzad eight, shazehu dein, the depth, meaning, Shemitzad eitz and mylose. Why is it over there the level of hair? You see, Atikim is like hair. Because the revelation of godliness is so great, what they're able to handle up there is only a limited, like hair. Like we learned, hair is a very limited life that's coming from the person's body, whatever, and therefore when you cut the hair, it doesn't hurt. So therefore, and what's the tzimtzum? So he says between the body and the hair is the skull. He says, through the separation of the skull, then afterwards becomes smichas societies, because the hair come out from the skull. Just like it is in Kedusha. Right? Like the Mitzvah Rebbe explains. Just like in Kedusha, there is a level of sad, hair, which is an extreme limited level of Elokus, because even in the highest levels, Elokus cannot be accepted and handled as is. It's too great. It has to be limited through tzimtzum. He says, K'mei kein, K'mei kein gambul umezeh. In a place where there's Elokus, it's is extremely limited. In other words, just like up there, in Kedusha, one of the great revelations of Kedusha, for them to handle it, it has to be limited. How much more so down here, it also has to be limited. When there's an additional tzimtzum which is called sidus, then once elukus, in other words like this, when elukus is revealed as is, it's too great a power for evil to exist. Because it's a gilui, it's a revelation of elukus. When kedusha becomes extremely limited, like we learn, how does klipa exist? How does evil exist from Hashem? It becomes limited, and to the extent that the klipa could exist. So klipa exists when there's a very limited amount of kedusha, meaning here, like here, then evil could exist. Like we find, the hair of a woman, right? That's why it has to be covered because it's nakedness. So erva, the hair of a woman is evil, nakedness. Yet the nazik siv kaddish gadol paraseireshi, but by a nazir the hair is holy. The Torah says kaddish yiyah, it's holy, the growing of his hair. So what is hair? Is it evil or is it kedusha? Hainu. Fisha side is the nazir and bechina side is the kedusha. Because again, you can have hair of the head which needs to be cut because it's evil. Then you have the hair of the beard which is kedusha, and that doesn't need to be cut. The same thing, nazir is the hair of kedusha, not only the beard, and the hair of the head is kedusha. On the other hand, by a woman, let's say it's by a married woman, it's nakedness.
Kedusha is the essence.
Meaning?
How could it be limited? How could kedusha is kedusha? How could kedusha be limited?
Atzilus is kedusha?
Yes.
Compared to higher than Atzilus, is it limited? Is it a world with 10 levels? So it's limited. And you have kedusha less limited, and more limited. Lifnei tzimtzum to after tzimtzum compared to lifnei tzimtzum. In kedusha you have limitation. What?
Why so? If it's so limited, why a woman has to hide the hair, has to cut the hair?
Because it's nakedness. It's erva, the Gemara says, by a married woman. They learn that from Saita, by the way. So they learn that from Pasuk Chumash. But when it's not hair of kedusha, it's hair that comes down into the level of erva, so to speak, nakedness. And that's the level of a miktachas sha'il. So in other words, what the Mitzvah Rebbe explains like this. There's Emesek Shemayim Shamata means in the level of Shemayim is also limited in Kedusha. But that's the level of hair, but it's hair of Kedusha. In the hair of Kedusha, there's no Yanika, there's no nourishment possible for evil because it is only Kedusha. But once Kedusha comes down, lower into Sad Isha Advar, things like that, then it becomes possible. And yet, the Mitzvah Rebbe explains, when the Pasuk says, if you go to Sha'el, down there, you're also there. That means even inside of Klipa, Hashem is also there. And like it says, in Yaina, after Yaina, we say, Mi batin Sha'el Shavasi. He said, when he was in the fish, he davened to Hashem, and he said, from the stomach of Sha'el, which was the fish, but he Shavasi saved me. Hainu. Shagami techa Sha'el. What did Yaina feel in Sha'el? He says that Heter Elokus. He felt Elokus saved me. But you say to me even more, like it says also in Yaina. No, I'm sorry. This is in Shmuel. Made it Sha'el v'Yoel. He takes him down to Sha'el to get him, and he brings him up. That means there's hope even in the lowest of levels of Klipa, there's also hope. K'mavor shaman, as explains there, in other words, what's the hope of Kedusha in Klipa? Because what is the purpose of the Yerida? Why in the world would Hashem want to hide himself to such an extent that even evil can exist from it? Why would Hashem do that? The answer is because that's the only way you can come to a higher level is by first going through the lower level. In other words, the only way you could reach the ultimate level of light, like Maamar says, is min ha'cheshech. Yisin ha'er min ha'cheshech means the ultimate level of greatness of light is only mitoch ha'cheshech, when darkness is transformed to light. So that's why the Eibishter makes this level of klipa, which is a very limited level of elokus. But the purpose of it is that this level of klipa becomes elevated to kedusha. V'al ufi erech haYerid. Now, the lower the thing, the higher the elevation afterwards. Like, you know, when you throw something down, the more power it hits the ground with, the higher it's going to go up. That means the more powerful kedusha comes down, that's how much higher it's going to go. From the depth of the evil, will understand the greatness that happens through it. So this is what the Rebbe is explaining. In Esek Shemaim, when he's explaining what the Friedrich Rebbe says, the Ein Sof is Maila Adin Ketz Umato Adin Tachlis. And he explains what does that mean. The concept of if I go up to the heavens, you're there. If I go to Sha'il, you're there. And he explains what does Sha'il mean, the ultimate depth where Kedusha is, that Kedusha allows evil to exist. Not only does it allow it to exist, it's very powerful. Hashem gives, again, what sustains evil is Kedusha. But I mean, Hashem is giving such a powerful level to Klipa to exist. But why? Because you read the Tzerech Aliyah. It's not, there's no, in other words, darkness is not an end by itself. Descent is not a tachlis, a purpose by itself. Darkness is a means to come to a light that you couldn't come without the darkness. You read the Tzerech Aliyah is, the whole inyan is that the Aliyah can only come through the Yerida. Chassidus gives the mashal, if you want to pick something up, you have to bend down. So why do you have to bend down to pick it up? Because dafka through the bending down are you able to pick it up, otherwise you can't pick it up. If you want to throw something, the further back you go, the more down you go, the further it's going to go up. So in other words, what the Rebbe is explaining over here, that even the Yerida itself is really Aliyah. Shayidu, as it's known. Oh no, I'm sorry. From the punishment, the descent into Sha'il, move in Tachas Elisha Nasa Yod. Shayidu, as known. Sha'ain Shi'at Teira, the punishments of Teira, Einam L'Shem Einish Ba'al Mechas Shalom. Teira is Teira's Chesed. We're going to say tonight, Neshes Chayim. Teira's Chesed, Teira is Chesed. Why is there punishment in Teira? The answer is, Shai Teira is Chesed. V'imkein, if Teira is Chesed, true blue Chesed, Gama Einish Shebeteira, even the punishment of Teira is Chesed. How can punishment be Chesed? Shetachli, because what's the purpose of punishment? Sheyestaken v'yachzeh l'mutav. You should become, do tshuva and go back up. Ba'ad k'dei kachu ilui. And its elevation is so great that it's worth the punishment and the, so to speak, literally the hell, the Gehennim, to be able to come to that level. Like it says by Yachid. Yeah? Kol Yisuri, Gehennim, are worth to be able to reach the level post-Gehennim. Shebesvil Zekdai, Like it says, he's going to quote the Gemara in Chagiga. Shebizvel zeh kedai afilu in Yemeret Shaol, which is even lower than Klipa. K'mayim Razali, the Gemara says about Achad. Mut of the Ladain. It's worthy that he should be punished in Gehenim. But less the Lamados, and he should come to the world to come. A physical analogy of this, by the way, is surgery, which is a tremendous yerida. But there's no purpose in surgery itself. The purpose is to become healthier than you were before the surgery. So again, it's the same concept of Yerid Tzayich Aliyah. So in other words, the whole purpose why Hashem created evil in the world, whether it's evil or Gehenim or punishment or whatever it may be, is all chesed. It's all for the sake of reaching a level that you couldn't have reached without the Yerida.
Is that on a personal level or everything?
At both.
So
Collectively, personal.
Could we say Holocaust caused creation of the state of Israel?
That's only for God to say. You mean not this? Okay, let's get into politics now. It's still not worth it. 6 million people to die for creating a country where the Jews could live. No. So obviously, God has His business, so we don't understand. Because Gehenim is such a strict, severe punishment, the Ramban, the Rebbe brings down an introduction to Shayach of Amunah. The Ramban says that the hardest, but the hardest fire in this world is only a 60th of the fire of Gehenim. It doesn't mean physical, obviously. So then we can understand the pleasure that Shemagiyim Aleim, that you reach through the Sha'il. Because them moving, therefore we can understand Shafilu Mata Mata B'Yesef, that even in the Lord, again, what did he say? Earning stuff goes Maila Maila Adin Ketz, Mata Mata Adin Tachlis. He said, what is the Mata Mata Adin Tachlis? When a person sins, which is even lower than Klipa, like he explained. Ad lo Adam Pesheya, or Pesheya Betachlis. And again, Pshia, there's different levels of sins. There's Chet, there's Avein, there's Pesha. In Shmoneh we would say, Slach lanu v'in kechatanu, v'chal lanu malkeinu ki poshanu. Okay, what's the difference? So it says Chet is an accidental sin. Avein is an intentional sin, but you do it because you like treif, so you eat it. I mean, whatever. But Pesha comes with negligence. And the Gemara says Pesha is a mazik. Person was negligent, like he damaged the object. That means Pashanu, sins of Pshia, are the worst type of sins. In other words, he does it to spite. That's much lower than enjoy sinning because I enjoy it. This is the lowest level. Meaning, and he said before, what's the ultimate level? When a guy takes his Torah knowledge and makes rulings against Torah. That means he takes Torah and uses Torah, like he says. With the koyach of Torah, of his knowledge, he says something which is heipach HaTorah, contrary to Torah. Through inyanim of Torah itself, he adds koyach and evil. Even there, is the revelation of Elokus, it comes on all the way down. Okay, this is what he explains, the level of Maila, Maila, and Ketz, Mata, Mata, and Tachlis. So, he's explaining first the level of Mata, Mata, Adin Tachlis. These last few pages were all about Mata, Mata, Adin Tachlis. The way Elokus, he didn't explain Maila, Maila yet, Adin Ketz. But the Rebbe writes, in the explanation of the Maamar, first the Rebbe explains Mata, Mata, Adin Tachlis, and then he explains Maila, Maila, Adin Ketz. Okay, so the Maamar, the Rebbe continues in the Maamar. Why is that? How is it possible that Or can be all the way up and yet all the way down?
This is okay now?
What?
This is okay?
We're just starting Vav now. Mamshel B'Maimer. Calls al Fisha Erd who Ein Sof Ba'etzim. The Ord itself is Ein Sof. Because like we said, when you say Ord Ein Sof, there could be two things. It could mean Ord of Ein Sof, Ord of Hashem, or it could mean the Ord itself is Ein Sof. He says, Ord Ein Sof Ba'etzim, therefore the Ord itself is Ein Sof. Meaning, Al-Kain Ein Sof Gamkin L'Spashtusa. Therefore, there's no end to where it goes. Because if there would be an end, that means there would be a level that Ord wouldn't be revealed. So then it wouldn't be Ein Sof, because it's limited, that it's not in a certain place. So if Elokus doesn't come down all the way down, in the lowest level of Klippa, then it's not limited. I mean, it's not unlimited, it's limited. Yet Elokus, any place he goes to, is not affected in the low where it comes. To give a simple mashal for this, sunlight, whether it shines in garbage or it shines in the most refined place, there's no difference in the sunlight where it's shining. The sunlight doesn't change because it's going into manure or into things of holiness. It's the same light. So Orin Sof is saying, it doesn't change by where it's going. It's not like the neshama and the guf. The neshama mispa'elis mimikri aguf. The neshama becomes affected by the body. The neshama can't function if there's no keli for the ord. But this ord alaki that gives life and sustains, eina mispal, the eina mishtana. Like it says, ni Hashem le'shenisi. There's no change by Elokus. It says this, that it causes a change. This that or now is limited. That's not in the level of or, that's in the level of koyach. In the level of koyach, which comes, not, remember he said or chayis, right? So or when it comes into koyach, then it's not really or anymore. Then it's or changing into koyach. So then it's affected. V'yadua, the chayis b'chinas koyach u'bakel debiyah. Like you said before, the Rabbi said this before also. In Atzilus, there's no koyach, there's or. Because in Atzilus, it's all a lokus. He says, the kelim debiyah, the kelim of Bria Tzir Nasiya, Hario Bechinas Mitzias is an existence, right? It's Yesh Miyayin. Who could eat a big Garsa Kodesh, and like he said in Garsa Kodesh. The Reisha say Yesh, the kelim debiyah. Where does Yesh begin? In the kelim of Bria, Yitzir Nasiya. Because in Atzilus, it's all Holocaust, even the kelim. One second, Mishum Zashayach Bamshini Vizpailas. But Od Hamachaya aim by Shimshinis is Paulus cloud. That's what the Friedrich Rebbe writes in the Ma'arka Nashim. What? Then it becomes changed. Then the kelim affected.
So
like we said, Od in Atzilus, yes, it goes. The Od goes into Chesed, but that Od is Bli Gvul. It's Chesed Bli Gvul. So it's still Bli Gvul. Because it's Kedusha. But now when it comes to Bria, Yesh Miyayin, then the Od, because now it's Koyach, then it's affected by the Kelim.
it becomes a yesh, it becomes a
Correct.
reveal,
Correct. And he's going to explain now what it means.
It's not the same way.
It's a different, it's went through a parsa. Between Atzilus and Bria is a curtain, right? Remember, we learned that. Okay, the curtain, the light on the other side of the curtain is not the same light less. You have a light on the table. So closer you are to the light, you get more light. Further away, you have less light. It's the same light, just more or less. If you put a curtain over the light on the other side of the curtain is not the same light, a little bit less. It's a different type of a light. So in Atzilus, it's still Yesh. In Atzilus, it's still Ayin. It's still Bittul, so it's still Elokus. When it goes through the parsa, when it goes through the curtain, so then it becomes Koyach. Then it changes from Or into Koyach.
That causes the klipa to exist.
Correct.
Otherwise, klipa cannot.
Klipa cannot exist without Kedusha feeding it. So when we don't sin, so yeah, Hashem gives Chayas to Klipa minimal. But when so why? Because the only feeding that Hashem does to Klipa is over the shoulder, he doesn't want it. So he feeds it like he throws a bone, over the shoulder. But when we do evil, and he said Klipa, and then when we are the ones feeding Klipa, right? When we sin, and then he says, especially when you take Torah, make it into evil. Yeah? That is when we feed evil, that's when evil becomes very powerful. So the power of evil is dependent on our behavior. That's why Mimnei Chatoenu Galinu Me'artzenu. A goy has no control over Yid if a Yid doesn't let it. How does a Yid let it? By doing what they're not supposed to do.
But the ore that comes from Makif is not cavity dependent. It's constantly coming down.
No.
It seems like it's more powerful than Maamar, which is cavity dependent. And I have to do a mitzvah to receive that ore.
I understand. But our makif to function is dependent on our sins. Our makif is like over the shoulder. It doesn't affect it directly. What gives klipa effectively koyach is our behavior. And that's what he says, mata mata, adin tachlis.
If we behave 100%, the klipa will never go away.
Then, no, then we have a Beis Hamikdash. It doesn't mean evil doesn't exist in the world. But then evil is dispelled. There could be powerful evil that we strengthen. We feed it. Okay? Then you can have, when Jews behave, so then the Od is dispelling the darkness. It's there, but it's dispelled. When you turn on a light in the room, you didn't get rid of the darkness. Because the second you close your light, the Od is back. Turn off the light, I'm sorry. In Yeshiva they say open and close. So then the evil comes back. That's what the Rabbi explains, the difference between Mashiach's era and Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech was a Gilui of Elokus in the first Beis Hamikdash that dispelled darkness throughout the world. Constantly. But he didn't transform the darkness. That's Mashiach. Torah Or, Parshas B'Shalach, page 124, bottom of the second column. Okay, in today's, the Oz Yosh is in today's Parsha, right? So it says, Ashir al Hashem, ki goiga. I will sing to Hashem because he's extremely exalted. The Targum Onkelos explains, Geya al Gyusana, meaning greatness over greatness. So he says, Yuv and the Hegdim, there's a question that the Rebbe asks very often in Torah Or. Yuv and the Hegdim lahavin in Yeridus and Neshama Leila Mazeh. To understand the purpose of the Neshama descending into this world, because the purpose is to go back higher than it was before. Descent for the sake of elevation. The Neshama before coming into this world stood before Hashem with fear and love. Pressure calls like the pasuk says, Chaya Hashem Hashem madati lefanov. Okay, by the life of Hashem, who I stood before him, and he says, V'yav shalai lamid l'mayla. You can't stand upward b'fnei Hashem. B'lei dechiruchimu Because without fear and love, the neshama doesn't go up anywhere. So when it says Asher Madati Lefonav, it means the neshama Lamaila had Yira and Ava. But in the way of a Madati represents Bittul. That's why you stand by Shmoneh. And this is what the pasuk says: the Malachim have this longing and returning, Kamara Bozik, like lightning. Hagam shezenamer ala Malachim. Even though this pasuk is only said about angels, but nevertheless, wadin l'neshamas v'chol tzva ma'ila. So what does it mean? There's rotzu ba'ava. It has this longing with love. Lias nichsav v'gam kol sanafshi, to have the longing to Hashem, meaning the level of going out, v'shuv b'yira. And then the level of shuv, coming back, is a level of yira, kimihu arav libay alagashes. Because the person realizes, how am I able to stand in the presence of Hashem? So, Ava means the longing, you want to be close to Hashem. Yira means, who am I to be standing near Hashem? That's the level of shuv, so to speak, coming back down to earth. And it says, so that's the neshama l'mayla. The neshama l'mayla is complete bittul with Ava and Yira to Hashem. And the neshama comes down to Elam Hazeh, the fear and love become hidden, and the neshama comes into a physical body. Then the neshama is not able, obviously, to have the same rotze v'shev, the Av and Yira, like it was l'mayla. Only designated time, unique special occasions, that the love of Hashem becomes awakened. And even then, when it does become awakened, and it's not at all on the same level of Ava Yirazu, of this fear and love and fear, the Gabi Ava V'Yira, compared to the love and fear the way it was before. So in other words, number one, rarely do you have Av and Yira down here. And even when you do, it's nothing in comparison to the Av and Yira, the love and fear that you had up there. And this Yerida is for the sake of elevation. How do you go higher than what you were before? By learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, so that the neshama reaches a higher level than it was before.
We finished the Basi Legani?
No.
This is pure Sunni?
Huh?
This is a still Basi Legani?
No, this is Torah art. By Chassidim, many Chassidim, they didn't finish things. You know why? Because if they finished it, they say, look how great I am, I finished something. They will learn a Masechta and not learn the end. That they couldn't say, I finished the Masechta. No, it says, it's brought down about that. We need to understand. So what are we saying? That through Torah mitzvahs you come to a level of Av and Yira greater than it was L'mayla, because the whole purpose is to come to a higher level. See, he says, how is it possible? How is it possible that Av and Yira through Torah mitzvahs can come to be a higher level than it was L'mayla? It's known, but Maamar, what we say in davening. Hadain on the floor is the master of wonders. That constantly renews the act of creation from the beginning of levels. To the end of all levels. Every day, when it says meaning not only Elam Hazeh Gashmi, but not only Elam Hazeh Gashmi, all the Ruchnistic levels, from the highest level to the lowest level, and his Chachizu is only Bechinas Mamala Kolalmi. Because again, what gives existence to the world in a practical way? That's Mamala Kolalmi, that permeates the world and gives it life. There's derech hishtaushus me'ila le'ila, from cause to cause, tchila ruchnius, elam esoyenim. First, spiritual worlds, and then sichlim nevdolim, and then separated things like the malachim and so on. Then it keeps coming all the way down, to the extent that the chayis that are lokus, we'll understand in Basi Legani also, that the chayis becomes so low, it becomes physical, to create, Gashmi is to heaven and earth. Okay? So therefore, what happens every day? Every day there's a constant renewal of the entire Maamar Kolam system, so to speak, from the highest worlds all the way down to the lowest worlds. Or commercial neshama, like the marshal of the neshama. Hamis Pashat is the guf that reveals itself in the body. Shereish is gili b'merech hasechel. First comes into the brain, then b'pad dibur, and then b'yadayim ha'maisa. Right, the highest faculties of the head, which is seichel, and then you have, or machshava, and then you have dibur, and then you have maisa. And this is the level of higher and lower, in both in ruchnish and in gashmius. Where does this come from? Hamachadish, where does it come from? Betuvay. It doesn't only say Hashem renews the world every day. It says Betuvay b'choy, with His goodness every day, which is mides tuva severachmanuse. Hashem Pasha does it as a favor, as a rachmanis on us.
Somewhere because Teshuvah, it's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new start. It's a new.
No.
No, I mean it's a good thing.
Yeah, but even without Shuvah, it's still it's a new thing.
Yeah, but for him it's a new set of start.
What do they say? Every day of your life is the beginning of your new life.
Right.
Okay. Kamesha Kozman, like it says, Tev Hashem lakol v'rachma v'kol ma'isov. So he says like this, Kihu yizbarach ein sof. Right? Hashem is infinite. Seviv kol almin, ushava mashra kotem v'godol, the highest, the lowest, it's all equal by him. Ma'ilo ma'ata gashim tzviruch n'shav l'fanav. It's all the same. So what's Hashem's kindness, betuvei? That He comes down to create a physical world by first limiting ruchnius, and then limited ruchnius comes into gashmis. B'zeu adein aniflois. That's what we say He's the master of wonders. Shafilu b'chinas niflois. Shein almin stimen. Even wonders which are not miracles. There's nisim and niflois. Miracles are supernatural, but you can get them a little bit. Niflois it's wondrous, it doesn't even make sense in the realm of miracles. So Niflois is such a lofty level that everything is the same. Higher, lower, it's all this. Now we come along and say, not only is Hashem Niflois, He's Adaina Niflois. That means He's even higher than Niflois. He says, Pirush, Afilu b'chinas Niflois, even the level of wonders. Shein almas stimen, which are the hidden world, which everything is equal, high, low, gashmi, it's all the same. Ein arechel elav yizbarich, have no connection to Hashem whatsoever. Like it says, Eisei fela, He does wonders, meaning shebechinas pela ubechinas asiya. We say also davening Eisei fela, admires, right? Eisei fela means He does wonders. But here, like it says, kulam b'chachma asisa, doesn't only mean you did everything with wisdom. It means, compared to you, chachma, the highest level, and asisa, which is the lowest level, are all the same. The same thing, Eisi Pella, Eisi means asiya, the lowest level. Pella means the super high levels. So what are we saying, Eisi Pella, that by compared to Hashem, the lowest level, Asiya, and Pella are the same thing. Why? What's causing this connection of the nefesh with Elokus? He machmes as sagos as chayis amispashim. Because the neshama l'mayla has an understanding of the chayis mispash me'etzah baruch lachas elimis ki imcha mekar chayim shayidei zehi b'chinas rotz. That's causing the longing. La'avas Hashem to love Hashem ki uchayecha dafka. Okay? Meaning, the neshama l'mayla has this understanding of Hashem. How great the chayis of Elokus is. So he says, Achim rotz libcho shuv lecha lefi shu ba'atzmi adoina neflois. Ve'isi pella, ve'inu b'chlal hasogas hanevish et ve'kusa. In other words, the second aspect of it is, the neshama comes to realization that I love something that basically is too far away from me. And that causes an awe that you realize I'll never get it, so you're on your present level. Yeah, you can never get there. Why? Because he is the master of wonders. I say Pele, he could do wonders. Meaning, therefore he's called Neira Sihilis, Sheyureim La'alolu. That is the awe and the fear. Meaning like this. The neshama l'mayla can't reach the level of its understanding of Elokus. Cannot.
Even understanding it?
It can't. Because it's beyond understanding. But this is what he's saying. But down here, the Alter Rebbe asked the question, how can down here, through Torah mitzvahs, which is still a neshama in the body, how can that reach a level higher than the neshama's hasaga upstairs? Yeah, so the Alter Rebbe is explaining, what's the hasaga, what's the understanding of the neshama up there, Neira Sihile Sadaina Neflois, all that stuff. Yeah? So the neshama understands that this that it understands, Elokus, L'mayla, is really nothing compared to what Elokus is. But down here, he's going to explain, through Torah mitzvahs, you can reach the level of Adon on the floors. No, the neshama l'maylas hasog is not in Yechida. Yechida of the neshama can only be revealed down here. L'mayla there's no Yechida connection to Hashem. The Alter Rebbe says in Perek Lamed Vav that you can't see the purpose of creation. Was Elam Etzal Yenim Hel Lahem Yeridem Eri Yizbarech, because the highest worlds are only revelations of Hashem. Correct? Revelations can never get essence. Yes? So L'mayla, it's all revelations that the neshama sees. Revelations can never get essence. Yachid is essence. Only down here, he says, in Gashmis, which is the essence of Hashem, can you connect to the essence? That's what he says, all right? That's why we're down here. That's a Mashiach is dir v'tachtein. What?
Who says that?
Alter Rebbe and Tanya.
So how come he says, I don't want this, I don't want this, I only want you?
That's what he says. I don't want Gan Eden, I don't want this. Olam Haba. I want you. I want the essence. And that essence can only be gotten down here.
So the neshama in the body has more potential than the human.
No. The neshama in the body has more ability to reveal Yechida than it did L'mayla. Not to have Yechida, it has Yechida. Neshama can only reveal Yechida, seemingly it comes out down here. Because where do you have Atzim? Atzmus is only down here.
That's why the neshama doesn't want to leave that.
That's why the neshama, after it's down, doesn't want to leave. Before it comes down, it doesn't want to come. The Jews are never happy. That's the bottom line. They're in Gan Eden, they're not happy. They come down here, they're not happy. Wherever they are, they're not happy. It's an old trait. What's your problem? Go ahead, bro.
Illusion that the behavior of the body is by nefesh ruach neshama. I mean, it's happening down here, but it's only affecting nefesh ruach neshama down here. It's reaching to Yechidah.
Yeah. What happens when you do a mitzvah? What are you connecting to? Kol ha-mitzvahs, the Rebbe Rashab writes, misyachzim el ha'atzmos. All mitzvahs connected to the essence. He says, Kin ya'atayr of ha-mitzvah n'shach m'chinas ha'deina neflois v'seviv kol alma. So he says, you can, the neshama l'mayla gets into the level of neflois. But then there's a level of ha'deina neflois. That's why by ha-machadish b'tuvei b'choyim tamid. Where is the level ha'deina neflois? That's what he's saying davening. Ha'deina neflois, ha-machadish b'tuvei b'choyim tamid ma'aser reishos. Where is the level of ha'deina neflois revealed? Dafka in ha-machadish b'tuvei b'choyim tamid ma'aser reishos.